The world is a business, Mr. Beale. It has been since man crawled out of the slime.
Now, okay, have you ever listened to her sing country?
Oh, dude, I'm a huge Linda Ronstadt fan. I had like 5 of her records on vinyl. Like, I know all about her. She was a fox.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was listening to that song just in the car, and then it, automatically went to like a radio, and one of her country songs came on, and I was like, "Damn, girl, you got this."
Dude, there's a documentary about her like whole life and her career. She's amazing.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, she's kind of underrated. I think like Dolly Parton gets a lot of recognition, but Linda Ronstadt is come on. Well, we are definitely in November because my wife is like out of it. She's on the couch just like passed out right now. And, yeah, she was like, I feel like I have a bug. Like yesterday I was really tired, and now I feel great. And then today came, and now she's just like
I'm excited to get to the point where I no longer have like a 4-year-old or younger, and I can actually take a nap. I'm so excited for that.
It's
really
it's a good feeling. What was it? So Jamie, something clicked in his head this week where he's like understanding what money is, and like it's like, oh, wait, so if I have money, I can go to the store and buy stuff? Like, what? Really? And I was like, yeah, like you did, when we ask him to do certain chores and he does them, we're like, hey, here's $1, and he's like, okay, whatever. And it finally like clicked in his head, like, oh, I do chores, I get money. When I have money, I go to the store. If I go to the store with money, I get to buy stuff. And so I had a really cool moment, actually. I went downstairs. I woke up at like 7, went downstairs, and Jamie walks up to me and goes, hey, Dad, come here. Come in the kitchen. And I walk in the kitchen. He opens up the cupboard where all the plates and the bowls and all that are up. And he pulls out the drawer with all the silverware, and he just like presents it like a Price is Right like model. And it's like, look. And I was like confused. I was like, I guess they're full. And then I opened the dishwasher, and he emptied the dishwasher without asking or without me telling him to do it at all. And I was just like, what the? Who are you?
Bro, that's awesome.
It was so cool. And then literally I'm at my computer working on a nerdy little project, and I look up and Jamie took out the garbage. Just
dude, that's awesome.
Like, what the I was like, who are you? This is so weird. And so he's got like $5 in his wallet, and he's just like, I am the king of the world. I can solve world health problems and everything. Like,
I miss the days where when you had $5, you didn't want to like cry. Oh
my gosh,
$5 is so much.
I had an experience where Hawkins was like holding a penny. He's like, how much can I buy with a penny? And I was like, so nothing. So what can I do with a penny? You can get a whole bunch of them and gather them together, and then you could buy one small thing. But like pennies, it's like, can I think of a single positive thing you can do with a penny? Oh, you can squish them when you go to the museum and get like an imprint on
yeah.
it.
but that usually costs 2 quarters to do it as well.
Yeah, it's 2 quarters now.
51 cents.
You can put those pennies on a train track and have the train squish it for you. I remember doing that.
Okay, so I grew up with train tracks right in my backyard. It was
Same.
like my fence, and then an easement of like 20 feet, and then train tracks. Like my parents were terrified we were going to get hit by trains all the time. But I used to put pennies on the train tracks all the time. Also, I would walk like 5 blocks out of our neighborhood to the first like main road in downtown Centralia, so not a big one. And there was a little shop that, man, I think it was actually called First Street Market, but I called it the Penny Candy Store.
Mm-hmm.
And you could get like 1 gummy bear per penny.
That's pretty sweet.
So I would bring in like a handful of pennies and nickels and dimes, and I would like count out the exact numbers of candies from their like bulk section, and then go buy them at the counter. Like that was my jam.
That's awesome. So we're talking about trains. It's funny because, sorry, I just took a bite out of a giant cinnamon roll. like a fatty.
Now you decided to talk. Very smart.
Yeah.
So Paige came in just before we started recording. She's like, "Hey, I made a cake," and I was like, "Bring me a piece." And she's like, "No, I'm not going to bring you a piece. So you're going to eat it while you're on Cinema Slime. Stop that." And I was like, "I guess that's probably right." And then here you are, just proving me wrong.
I got frosting all over my face. My bad. I couldn't resist.
This is apparently normalized, and I thought I was going to be the.
Oh my gosh, is there eating podcasts where it's like you just people get on a podcast and like we're just going to eat food and talk the whole time?
I think it's called mukbang or
purely
God.
Purely an audio only podcast of just hearing people
mukbang.
So
my
door sounds the whole podcast.
Yeah, mukbang is one of the grossest words I've ever said out of my mouth. I'm sorry about that.
Jesus.
Okay, back to the train thing. So my boy Cash, he went through this it still lingers, but he went through this intense train phase. And I was thinking about it one day and I was like, I never cared about trains. Like Thomas the Train Engine didn't appeal to me. I thought it was weird. Like my son has like hundreds of train toys. And we go to the train museum often and he's like fascinated by it. Then I was thinking about why when I was like 2, 3, 4 years old, like right around when my sister Paige, Scott's wife Paige, was born, we lived like in a trailer like behind our cousin's like property, and there was a train track 50 feet away, and I remember waking up every single night to a train just blaring its horn. And that must be why like I never cared about trains, because I like associated it with like being annoyed or waking me up or startling me. Or
my reoccurring dream when I was 14, 15, 16 is I would die in my dream every time, like very consistently. I would wake up to like someone shooting me. I would like wake up to that. And I remember it was like every other night I woke up to someone killing me, which sounds really sad and terrifying. But I don't know.
What movie did that do? What movie?
I don't know what movie did it to me, but
was that All Dogs Go to Heaven?
that was it. Oh my gosh.
Something rated G for sure. Like
yeah, what
was that Brave Little Toaster?
Oh no. You know, it's funny. I was looking through our list of all the movies we've suggested and all the movies we've watched, and we ended up watching 3 of my 5 childhood trauma movies. Yeah, so it's all just coming back. It's all coming back to me now.
Well, speaking of movies, you guys see anything cool lately? Because I wanted to talk about one movie in particular.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Jamie. Yeah. So last night, Nicole just had a couple gals over just for little gal night, you know, face masks and all that stuff. And Jamie was like, "Why are they here?" And it's like, "Oh, it's girls' night. They're gonna hang out and do girl stuff." And he was like, "I want a boys' night." And I was like, "Okay, well, what do you want to do for boys' night?" And he was like, "Let's go upstairs." And I was like, "Okay." He grabbed a bunch of toys, put them on his bed, and he turned on Kung Fu Panda 2. And I was like, pretty solid boys' night. And I went down, got popcorn and soda, and we watched Kung Fu Panda 2. That movie is really dang good. Like, that movie is really funny.
I was really surprised with how funny, how much I laughed at that movie. Going with zero expectations, I laughed so much through that movie.
So it's a funny movie. It's a really good movie, and there's these flashback scenes where you're learning about Poe's past and his parents and all this stuff, and they are genuinely beautiful pieces of artwork. Like, I was so impressed by it. I remember liking the first one and being cool with it. The second one just got better. And if I remember, the third one's pretty solid. I don't think it's as good as the second one, but it's still, you watch it and you're like, this is 100% acceptable. And I still had a good time watching it.
Harrison, you said you saw Frankenstein. Have you seen that yet?
Oh, we never talked about that.
I'm still thinking about it. That's a pretty wild movie, dude. Yeah. Like I don't know. I sort of heard like mixed opinions about it. So I went in kind of not expecting it to be that great. It's not a perfect film or anything, but like there's like 3 or 4 scenes in that movie that are like pretty unbelievable. Like I'll never forget. Yeah, well, it was cool in particular about Frankenstein because a couple of months ago I finished this book called Spare Parts. It's about the history of like surgery, plastic surgery, like rhinoplasty, like all of this crazy stuff. And there's a scene in Frankenstein where they construct a human from scratch. I recommend someone read the book first and then watch Frankenstein just to like get an idea, because it's a timepiece. And I don't know, it was really cool. And I know it seemed, you know what I'm talking about, Harrison.
Yeah, no, my one note about that movie that comes to my head right now is when he is collecting bodies, he has no like sympathy, no empathy, no nothing.
So
like,
desensitized.
Yeah, like the one that really was like holy hell was when they have that line of people going to be hanged, and he's literally walking up to them and he's like, I don't know, your jaw's not strong enough. And he goes to the next one. He's like, ooh, this one's got a strong back. I'll take him.
Totally.
Like, that is so messed up. Like, that is crazy.
That's why it was so rewarding, because I read the book, because like people would go to hangings, like public hangings all the time. The surgeon who like wanted to practice on a body didn't get it. Like people would like try to like steal the bodies and try to get it to like their respective families so they could mourn the death of their loved one like properly. And then if it wasn't that person, it was like the local college who needed it for like their studies. So people are just like fighting over dead bodies, and that was like totally normal. And think of like this, like before movies, I guess, but like the spectacle of seeing someone get hung, like the reason for someone to come to that is mind blowing to me. But it kind of makes sense because like there's different motives behind it. Like some people would bring their kids to be like, hey, this is why you follow the rules. Look at this. And then you see him die. So it's like a negative motivation. And then some people it's like a sport. They're just like, yeah, he deserves it. Justice has been served. The guy who stole my friend's wallet is now dead, or whatever petty theft he did. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I'm going to say, like, it's really easy to be like, dang, those barbarians back then. But I mean, we're not too far from that.
Totally.
Just a couple of months ago, there was some stuff going around on social media that was really similar.
Oh, yeah.
That. So,
yeah.
I mean, kind of dark. Are you not entertained?
Totally.
So, was there something that happened in the world that made people go, oh, I shouldn't, going to public hangings is kind of messed up?
I don't know. I think it just kind of became unfavorable. People kind of realized. But I do know one of the last like guillotine beheadings was like, there's like a picture of it. It's from like 1922 or something, like not that far away. And I think it happened in Paris. But like, yeah, like Scott said, like that's like my fascination with anything history is just like, that wasn't that long ago. But I think in our minds, our whole life, we just think we've advanced so far. And really, we're like exactly the same. We just have internet.
yeah, pretty much. It's like I have access to everything. If I'm recalling correctly, like back in the Civil War, like people would like set up picnics and be like, oh, let's go watch the local fight between the North and the South. This is going to be great. And I feel like I remember reading something that was a very popular thing to do at the very beginning of the war. And then people realized like, oh, people are like getting shot, getting killed. My family, my brother is in that, and he just died.
Yeah. And
I wonder if that was kind of a turning point where it's like, oh, like I don't want to see this anymore, or like this isn't like socially okay right now.
That is a fascinating question, Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I'm gonna be, I'm not gonna forget that question. Like that's dark.
I feel like one country stopped doing it, and then everyone else started realizing.
Okay, so I know I haven't started talking about the movie, but I have a comment about our movie in regards to this.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, I'm going to say it right now.
Okay.
So the final scene in this movie, we're talking about 1917. The final scene in this film.
Wait. You're talking about the final scene before we even start the movie?
Well, it's in relation to this. It's in relation to this.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So one of the final scenes in this film is everybody's jumping over the wall and they're running through the open field. And I remember I was just thinking, I was like, that's how we used to fight wars. We used to get thousands and thousands and thousands of people and just smash them together like action figures. And whoever's got the most at the end wins. Wars are not fought like that anymore. Thank heavens, honestly. but it's just
Unless it's Ukraine and
yeah,
Russia.
that's true. But it's just so weird to think about it like that. It's just like, wow, like this feels very like detached, very not okay. You know,
Okay.
like
This,
it's crazy.
Off of this idea you're talking about, there's a scene in the movie Barry Lyndon where he's like, it's so crazy, but it just kind of shows him walking, a front shot of him. He's got his rifle. And I think this takes place like 400 years ago, roughly. I'm hazy on when it takes place. But it's like what you're saying. There's just rows of soldiers, just boom, boom. They're just walking straight forward, and they just drop like flies to his left, to his right, behind him. And like, that's just part of it. Like that was part of the strategy. Just have like the front line go in, the second line, the third line, and then eventually it gets thin enough to where like you can squeeze in there and like win eventually.
Dude.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Well, it's just
So I read forever ago, like 15 years ago, something like that. I read a book. It was George Washington's like battle strategies. And so all the different battles that he was in charge of and directed and stuff
Was
like
this
that.
1776, the book?
I don't remember, honestly.
Sorry.
It was a long time
Yeah.
ago. The thing that really stuck out to me at the time, one of the takeaways that I'm still remembering, is how like there was the rules of battle, like you were just talking about, the rows and rows and rows, and how the British would have won if we followed the rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And we like invented like a guerrilla warfare where we would hide in the woods and pop people off and stuff like that. And that's the only reason the Americans were able to win the American Revolution. And that was just part of the shift in battle strategy.
So yeah, just the thought of like, you know, you're in rows going into battle. I think it's just, I wonder if there's this weird like psychological thing where when people are planning wars, they have to like hype up people who are in the front row. It's like, oh, it's an honor to be in the vanguard. You're the first one in, you know, like I wonder if that was like something they had to sit down and like, okay, how do we like decide who goes in first? Let's say, okay, we need to make it like a position of honor and like bravery so that people will, so these soldiers will feel okay being in the front.
You can get a piece of tin with a ribbon on it.
Look at you, Scott. Oh, you got me.
Nothing makes a widow feel better than a piece of ribbon.
Dude, that got me.
All
That
right,
got me good.
let's jump in. Roll the tape. Well, actually, hold on. I screwed up the intro. I jumped the gun. I want to say something. I want to say congrats. I want to highlight you, Scott, and our sister, me and Harrison's sister, your wife, Paige, just dropped their first book. And I just wanted to congratulate you guys on this because I know how hard you guys have worked on it, how much time and effort. Paige has probably had this idea in her head for like 15 years. I don't know. You probably know more than me, Scott, but I just want to say congrats to you guys. And maybe in the show notes, we'll add a link to their book. It's available on Amazon right now. And I've heard a lot of great things about it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the shameless plug, and I didn't even have to self-promote.
Do it yourself, yeah.
So when Paige and I got married, I accidentally found out that she was like a nerd and wrote novels. And so for her birthday, like while we were engaged, I drew her like the fantasy map, you know, of her world, and like made it really nice, and I put it on in a nice frame and stuff like that, and like surprised her with that, and she didn't even know what to do with it. And I've spent the entire time we've been married, we just had our 16th anniversary, just pushing her further and further and further and saying like, you have to write because your writing is good. It's taken so many different manuscripts, like 5 different manuscripts, and each one iterated on 3 or 4 times to get good enough for it to be like marketable and sellable. And this is the first novel that's actually been released. It's great. It's Shadows of the Gate. It's about, you know, monsters trying to destroy a town, and this mom that has to reach back to her past to resurface old skills to save the town and the world and stuff like that. It's really solid, and you can find it at dwshepherd.com. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
I will say I was lucky enough to be a beta reader for you. I know that it was really high scrutinized, and I had to go through a recruitment process to get it. But but I got to read through the beta reading of it, and it was really great. I even have a very good friend. Like halfway through, I was reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this person would love this book. Like it was kind of cool to read a book and already know somebody who would love the book. So I had a great time reading it. I loved leaving all my notes. I don't know how helpful they were, but they were funny at least. So I'm excited for you guys. Just very happy.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Harry.
All right. Now we're going to 1917.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir. Is he alive?
And with your help, I'd like to keep it that way. But they're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you don't, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them.
There is only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
What the hell are you doing, Lance Corporal? No! No! No!
If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Usually we start this segment off with whoever's list it came from. So 1917 was for my list, but I don't want to start. I don't really want to start.
Here,
So
you don't want to start? No. Here, we're gonna start this. Ren, this came from your list, 1917. You put it on the list of the team, and I want to know what your experience was watching this film. Because right now, I'm gonna let you know right now, I have a lot of very strong feelings about this film now, and I want to know what your experience was because you watched it when it first came out, right?
Actually, I was trying to remember. I think in my head I did see it in the theater, but I actually didn't. I bought it on digital during COVID lockdowns. So I saw it in 2020, about a year after it came out. This was one of those movies that the second I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm seeing that. It's just like I have to see that. That looks incredible. I didn't know about all the camera work, the cinematography, everything that went into it. But I just remember when I watched it, and we'll get through it, but like at the end, I just remember like one of my favorite war films I have ever seen, hands down. Like it just went in onto that list immediately. And I gotta say, I've seen the movie 4 times now. It gets better each time, and we'll go over some stuff, but like, dude, this movie is incredible.
It's a true piece of artwork to me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So this is the first time I ever watched the film. I remember kind of sticking in the back of my head and being like, that does look really interesting. The hard part is when I go see a movie in theaters, my wife is a lot more opinionated about what she wants to watch than I am. I'm down for basically anything, and she's kind of like, nah, I'm not really in the mood for that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll get to it when I get to it. And people recommended it to me, so it was, like I said, always in the back of my head. But I'm telling you, this movie is up there with the Europa Report as one of the best movies we've watched for this whole show, this whole podcast. To me,
Yeah.
I was so fascinated, mind blown by it. This movie also hits an interesting category for me, where sometimes I watch TV shows or I watch a movie, and I have this feeling of, God, I wish I was involved in this movie so I could proudly say I put something towards it.
Yeah.
Like if I was the guy who cut the sandwiches for everybody at lunchtime for this film, I would brag about that all day long.
That's awesome.
But this movie hit that point for me. I watched it and I was like, I wish I did anything to be in this film, even if it's that.
Yeah, man, I have to 100% agree with you guys. This is also my first time watching it. It's been on my short list of movies to watch, but like I live in a really crowded house with a bunch of kids running around, so it's not easy to watch movies. And so I'm really glad that it ended up on our Cinema Slime list so that I had an excuse. And I put it on at like 10 o'clock at night when everybody went to bed. And I was holding the phone like 3 inches from my face, and I just couldn't breathe the whole time. Like it just started and I couldn't, it just didn't let go.
Yeah. No. I told Ren this at work. I just as a little preview for him. I was like, my butt never unclenched ever. This whole movie, my butt was just biting the couch seat the whole time.
So Ren, I have a specific question for you. It's a silly one, but why did you put this on the team list?
Two people technically is a team. And the whole mission is to help the other people on their team. And I mean, yeah, I might have taken a little liberty, but like this movie, it's not that outside of the rules, I think. I think it qualifies. No. It was definitely the lesser of all the other team options on my list, but when it got picked, I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, we're watching 1917, and I know I've talked your ear off about it, Scott. Like, I was just like, you have to see this. So, like, in my head, I was like, Scott's finally gonna watch it. This is perfect.
This is it. This is the moment. Well, and I love like I didn't mind one bit that this was on the team, because it's true. Two people do make a team, and honestly, I almost. So when I think about the team as a theme, I always imagine the get the team together scene where it's like, okay, we need the hacker, we need the assault guy, we need the chameleon who's gonna like schmooze everybody, things like that. This opening scene at the very beginning is so simple and so like it just happens. It's just like, pick somebody, let's go. And he stands up and he's like, yeah, Schofield, let's do it.
Well, there's a key thing about that is that he stands up and he puts his hand down. Schofield looks up to him, and then they handshake, and I think he helps pull him up. And that right there, that decision, that little agreement that they both make, whether he knows what he's getting into or not, sets the whole movie up. And this movie is really fascinating after you've seen it once, because every piece of dialogue, all the things that you see in the background, it all culminates to like this end point in the movie that you don't even recognize. In fact, there was a part where it reminded me of The Northman, how like they kind of like tell you the ending in the first 10 minutes, but then you have to go through the journey and get there. But there's a part where he's like, keep your eyes on the tree line, because they kind of figure out that that's where they have to go. And there's 3 different points in the movie where you see a tree in the background along their journey. It's just cool. I love symmetrical films. Like, it ends where it starts. The middle point. Yeah. Dude, and just, Scott, like having you explain like pacing and just kind of being more aware of like the storytelling aspect of films. The pacing in this movie is, in my mind, the best pacing that I can like think of in a movie.
Perfect.
It's very consistent. Yeah.
I'm going to drop the one thing that I didn't like about this movie now, so that we can just spend the rest of the time just admiring how great this
praising.
That's good.
I got mine too, but I want to hear yours.
I wish that they had not cast any big name actors in this.
Oh, see,
that was the only immersion breaker for me. If they were all like mid-tier people that you're like, have I seen that guy before or whatever? Like, it would have been perfect. But the minute like Colin Firth was in there and Benedict Cumberbatch and the guy Mark Strong was in there, like they're so iconic that I was like, oh, that's like the guy from, Sherlock Holmes, and that's the guy from, that's Doctor Strange, and that threw me out. But otherwise, like even though their performances were fantastic, they did a great job. It took me out of it, and that is the only complaint I had.
That's a really good point, though. I was just gonna say, because Harrison, you hadn't seen this till now, but at the time, the main Blake, he's in Game of Thrones, so I know you recognized him. But at the time, I didn't know any of these guys.
I have a counterpoint to your point, Scott. So I will say this. See, I did recognize the guy who played Blake. He played Tom and Baratheon, or I guess Tom and Baratheon. He's really Tom and Lannister. But he played him in Game of Thrones, and he's not a big part. He's not really a big part in the show. But I still was like, hey, I know that guy. So I actually like the fact that the big 3 main there's 3 really big actors in this film, and I think it was extremely clever and smart of them to cast them in the roles they did, because all 3 of those characters that they play are the generals. They're the top dogs in this film. And I don't know, I like the fact that our 2 main characters, Blake and Schofield, those actors at the time of recording, I'm talking to people in 2035 when these guys are like huge. But at the time this movie was filmed, they're nobody. Nobody knew who they were. But I like the fact that the generals were people we knew, because when they showed up, it sort of set this authority that like, oh, like they kind of have this presence of being a general. We pay attention to them because we do recognize them, and their performances were really strong because they're such great actors. And I think it really kind of contrasts with the fact that our two main actors aren't really that well known at the time, and it sort of puts them in the role of some soldier in an army. And so I don't know, it was just, I felt like it was kind of a clever casting system that they made, that they didn't put a big actor as one of the two main characters.
Man, Harrison, that's great. I really appreciate that. That helps. I love that take. And
Same.
I would also say that like Colin Firth is like the most respected, like grounded actor. He was the best general at the beginning, right? And then like Benedict Cumberbatch was the like, he was like the flighty general that people were kind of like, I don't know, he shouldn't be the one in charge of that, and he's doing the thing that everyone has to stop. And that kind of fits like his roles and his characters. Like Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't command the same level of like, I don't know, knighted like Sir Alec Guinness kind of respect that you know, Colin Firth would, or something like that. So I really appreciate that take. That's a
no,
cool take.
I really like the line that Mark Strong, his character, he's the general that Schofield meets kind of in the middle of the film. And I love the line when, you know, he's asking him like, what are you doing? It's like, I need to deliver a message to General Mackenzie. And Mark Strong's character comes up and basically says like, make sure there's witnesses, make sure other people hear this message, because some people just want the fight. They just want the war to happen.
I'm really surprised that you caught that on your first viewing, to be honest, because if he doesn't say that, and this touches into another note that I had about this, but like if he doesn't say that, the end meeting may not have gone successfully, and all those 1,600 soldiers that he was set out to save could have all died. This touches on this other note I had, but throughout the movie, there are these little like weird like serendipitous moments, these like little like clues that Schofield kind of just sees along the way. Like for example, when they right before Blake gets stabbed, they see all the cows being slaughtered, and he sees the milk. Later on, the milk comes into effect because he finds the little baby that needs food, and he just kind of sees these little things along the way.
The cherry blossoms when they first walk into the farmhouse, and then the cherry blossoms when he's going down the river.
Oh my God!
I'm serious. That scene where the cherry blossoms are hitting the river, and he's holding onto that log, and he's just drifting in it. I lost it. I just lost it. It was so good.
It's really cool. Okay, the character development of Schofield is pretty fascinating, because in the beginning he's just like, "Why did you bring me here? I don't like this." He's like, "It's better to just not go home at all. Like, why do you want to? I sold my medal for some wine. Like, why do you care about this stuff?" And he's pessimistic and just jaded by war. I would be as or more than him. I'm not talk about that. But once he loses Blake,
oh God,
everything in his heart changes. Blake is really like he's the heart of the film. And there's a part where Schofield's like, "Hey, we need to talk about this." And Blake just looks at him and he goes, "Why?" And the music, dude, the score is incredible. But Blake is all heart, and I think that Schofield really learned something from that. But yeah, the cherry blossoms, just these little like messages that are peppered throughout the movie. And one other thing that blew my mind too, because you don't find this out to the very end. There are 3 or 4 different moments where Schofield will see either a picture of 2 little baby girls, like when they're down in the trenches, he sees a picture of some girls. When they're in the house, he sees like a little bear, like a teddy bear, a doll or something. And then there's a part where he's hiding in the shadows, and on the wall, when the flares create the shadows, and you can see like a poster of like a circus. Every time he gets these little memories of his kids at home, something really crazy happens. Like he almost dies. No,
to go along with you, Seth, I love that you pointed this out. I didn't really connect it throughout the film, but this one, so when they get to the German side of no man's land, they go into the bunkers. When they're walking through the sleeping area, he finds a picture of a family stuck to the side. And I clocked that, and I thought, wow, that's a... You know, I feel like war films always need to have a moment where it kind of humanizes both sides, because when we go into war films, like think Saving Private Ryan, there's the good guys and the bad guys, like in our head. Like that's a very classic trope in war films where we are attached to one side of a war. And I feel like it's, it's tropey. Like you're going to see it in every war film where, where they have to humanize the bad guys and make us realize we're all just people on this planet. But I still love that they included that. And after that happens is when the bomb goes off inside of that trench and they almost get buried in it. So that is so cool, Ren. Oh, okay. I'm watching it again. Like you already got me.
Well, it's cool. I love that because you're right. It's sort of it's like a dual meaning because you're like, oh, it's humanizing. Yeah, Germans are just like us. That's pretty crazy. But you don't know till the very last shot that he's thinking about his 2 daughters when he sees the picture.
Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah, were you shocked by that, Scott? That I totally didn't see it coming that he was married and had kids. I did not.
I was not shocked. It was a great reveal.
Yeah.
Like I was following it the whole time, and I kept wondering, does this guy have anybody back at home? And he explicitly like kind of avoided talking about himself in that way. Whereas Blake, it was about Blake's family the whole time. It was about his mom. It was about his brother, all this stuff. And even at the end, it's about the older Blake's brother and his mom and stuff like that. But Schofield doesn't talk about it. I did think it was really heart-wrenching and fascinating that they simultaneously humanized the Germans, but every time there was a German, they were inhuman. It was like, I mean, that's why Blake got stabbed. He was like trying to be human and the Germans were not. And I appreciated that it wasn't about Germans equal bad. It was, we're in war.
Yeah.
And you're gambling a lot, your life and your friends' lives and the country's life by being humanistic while showing how human everybody was, both sides.
Yeah. One of the things about this movie, like, it doesn't seem anti-war, but it does really put you into perspective. It put things into perspective that just these 2 guys, Blake and Schofield, this is one storyline of all the thousands and thousands of soldiers and all those stories that we haven't heard. Like, dude, I was shook. What just things you see in the background, like when they're going through the trenches, every single soldier that they walk by, they all have their own story. Like you can just kind of look at their face and be like, oh, that guy's like completely different from this guy, and this guy's lazy, and this guy's like really stressed. This guy has a blown off leg. This guy, like, it's wild. Like, I've never been in war, thank God, but like this movie is so immersive. I felt like I was there. Like, as far as I know, that's real. Like, I have no idea to tell what's real and what's not because I don't know any better. And this movie is insane.
Harrison, I know you and my wife, Paige, grew up just watching MASH a lot. And, MASH is a great show. It's also a dumb show. It's not anything like the Korean War. No. If you're a history buff, it's the worst. As a show, as a sitcom, whatever you want to call it, like a repeating character-driven show like that, it's great. But I think the thing that MASH does really well, especially for running as many, like 12 seasons, some ridiculous number as it did, is that you realize how every single person has a family back home.
Yeah.
They have enough screen time that every single family writes home and has that showpiece episode at some point, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like what you said, Ren, where you have that realization where it's just basically like a selfie cam the whole time, is like amazing in capturing how, I don't know, how real and how full every single person's lives were. And, it reminds me of like Saving Private Ryan did a really good job with that at the beginning. And like The Majestic, like returning home from war and just the trauma of trying to adjust and stuff like that. Like, there are all these meta commentaries on war that I think when I came into watching this movie, it helped establish what it would be like to have this really personal take on war rather than a personal take on the battle or something like that, or on a team specifically, but just how it felt like you were there walking through the trenches, literally. It felt like, and Harrison, I know you had something you wanted to say, but I love the way that the cinematography wasn't just a masterpiece in a technical feat of being able to string together this whole movie in essentially one shot, but also how you really never saw anything that they didn't see. And when they had a realization was right when it came into frame and you had the realization. So this scene that's playing in the background right now is really a really great example of it, where they're going across the no man's land and they like dive into a crater, and Schofield's hands all cut, and he like jumps into the crater, and it's really tight on him and his hand. And so all you see is him like focused on his hand, and he like, oh man, that really hurts. And then he like kind of looks down, and the camera slightly pans backwards and off to the side, and there's like this half decayed body right next to him. And he's like, ugh. Then Blake jumps in next to him, kind of knocks him over, and his like cut hand goes into the chest cavity of a different half decayed body. And you didn't even see that one was there either until it's like already sunk into this guy's chest, and he pulls it out and he's like, so many times they did that throughout the movie where you just had no idea what was around because they had no idea until they turn the corner, or they're about to go over the trenches. You don't know what's over the trench until they go over the trench. It was incredible cinematography. Incredible.
I'm just going to say this.
Nothing like this.
His hand going in that body is the grossest thing I've ever seen in a film ever. It was so visceral, so gross. His hand was already cut. It's gonna get infected. He's dead. I don't know. Anyways,
I think only second to the scene where he's in the river crawling out of the river.
Yeah, the dead bodies. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I would cry too.
So, before we move on from this real quick, I want to go back to the ending with Schofield. I just talking about it just kind of made me realize. So throughout the film, we don't know that he has a family, that he's married. And like you said, Scott, he's kind of avoiding even talking about it. Usually, and we see this with Blake, usually family is a motivator for people to survive. It's usually something that you look towards, that I need to get back to my family. I have to survive this because of them. And Schofield, I don't know if he even has that right now. And I think that really shows how jaded and how beat down he is. Like the only time we see him looking at that photo is at the very end. And I think Blake's death really shifted his mind in that moment where he's realizing that Blake's dead, a brother is dead, a son is dead, and I have a family I need to get back to, but I have to take care of Blake's family first. And, oh my gosh, dude, I bawled like a baby. I'm not gonna lie. When Blake gets stabbed and he's looking up at Schofield and he says something along the lines of like, "Do you know the way?" And Schofield goes, "I know the way." And that just, I mean, ripped my heart out, threw it on the ground, and someone else stepped on it. Like that killed me.
Dude, that's one of the craziest like dying scenes I've ever seen. It felt like we were watching someone die.
Yeah.
And the color just goes from his face when he turns like gray. That's like that, like we're humans. We see that, and when they added that detail in the movie, you're like, how come no other that's realistic? How come that doesn't happen in other movies? Like we lose blood in our face.
Yeah, I want to know how they did that. Like in my head, it's like, oh yeah, they just turned down a volume or a button, you know, to make his face gray. They did it so well that I want to ask somebody, like, how do you even do that?
The dialogue in that scene blew my mind because, like you said, it really did feel like you were losing a good friend right there. As he started to lose his blood, he started to lose like his mental faculties.
Am I dying?
And he was like, oh my gosh, I got hit. And it was like seconds after he was totally coherent. And then he was like, I got hit. What happened? What got me? And he's like, you got stabbed, man. You know? And that's when my heart got ripped out, was like, oh, he's going. He's going and he's realizing it.
What makes that part so brutal for me is...
Hey, everybody, just popping in real quick. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, that would really help us out a lot. But either way, let's get back to the show.
First off, we should just talk about that dogfight that they're just witnessing in the sky. Which, side note, this was like the first time in history where dogfights in airplanes happened. That was like a new technology at the time. But anyways, you see the airplane, it gets hit. They're just watching. It goes down over the hill. And you're expecting to see like an explosion or hear something. And then nope, you see it come right up, chases them, crashes. They pull the guy out, and he's on fire. Schofield is just like, dude, let's kill him. Let's put him out of his misery. And Blake goes, no, get him some water.
His heart of gold just killed me. It really killed me. I was just like, no, I like the amount of explicitives I wrote in my notes in this film was incredible. Like I literally was like, F you, Blake, and your stupid heart of gold right now.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
Well, that's the thing too. You kind of are led to believe that Blake is the lead of the movie. So when he dies, you're just like, wait, what? For me, I liked Blake more than Schofield.
Well, yeah,
So
because
hands down.
Blake is hopeful. He has the energy. He has the motivation. He's the one who is like, we need to go. Just like that line you said, Schofield's like, we need to think about this. And he's like, why? And just boom, he's on it. And you're like, this is the guy on the mission. And Schofield's just the sidekick right now. So when he dies, it really is a moment of subverting expectations correctly.
I was curious how you guys interpreted this. Maybe there's nothing to it, but maybe there's part of it. So later in the film, I think his name is Bomber, but he's one of the other Germans, and Schofield runs into him, and he just covers his mouth, and then they kind of like stare at each other, and he's like, shh, and then he takes his mouth off because he trusts him, and then he yells for help. I wonder if there's a subconscious or conscious decision that he doesn't want to kill this guy, but then when he rats him out, he's kind of forced to. But then he kills Bomber, and then he runs past the other soldier, and he lets him live. I don't know, because he knows how painful that was, but he's also in war. I don't know. Maybe there's nothing to it, but
No. I agree. When he ran past the drunk soldier, I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why did he run past him? I mean, I know he has a mission, and maybe he's worried about getting caught again. But in my head, it's like, you just killed the first guy pretty slowly too. Like he strangled him. He was on top of him, strangling him. So it wasn't a thought of like, I need to kill him quick because I got to get going. So yeah, I found it interesting that he decided to pass on the second one and just kept going.
So leaning into the cinematography again, there were some really crazy scenes, and that one in particular is crazy because the way that they frame it is the intense action. So there's a parallel scene in Saving Private Ryan at the very end, where one of the main characters is getting stabbed by a German very slowly, and the German's on top of him and has the knife slowly going into his chest, and the German's telling him shh, shh, shh. So there's a similar scene here where it's very personal. It's like Bayonetta close, or not Bayonetta, bayonet. What was that? What are they called? Bayonets? Bayonetta?
The knife on the end of a rifle. Yeah, it's the bayonet.
Sword close bayonet warfare that was like being transitioned out of because of the increase in technology. But it's like a holdover from older war technologies, right? Everything is like gun warfare and explosion warfare in World War I for the first time. But they still have like these swords with them and stuff. So the fact that he's on top of him and there's a knife and like he's tries to stab him, it gets knocked out of the way, and he's choking him. It's so personal. But in this scene, in this movie, it was in shadow in the foreground and slightly out of focus. Mm-hmm. But what you do see in bright light and in focus is way in the background is the drunk partner, like stumbling over and doesn't even know what's happening. Yeah. He's just incoherently babbling drunk. And like, my eyes were just like back and forth between these two things because in the background, the less important stuff was what I was being drawn to because of the brightness and the implications being caught. So I kind of wanted to watch that, but I like needed to see what was happening in the train wreck in front of me and who was going to win. And it was like, who's on top? I can't actually tell. I think it's Schofield on top, but I'm not entirely sure. And I'm like, is this like what? And my eyes just kept darting back and forth between the two corners, the bottom left third and the top right third of corners of this shot over and over and over and over. And then when the German dies, because he was strangled, like I was still not entirely sure what to look at. Like, was he actually gone? The action is now is Schofield standing up, but is he going to get caught? You know, and like it was one of the most intense scenes I think I've ever seen in any movie, not just this one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it all, you know what, man, that confusion that you're talking about, I really like that because there's a scene right before that when, first off, the whole shot of him in that destroyed village and the flares jumping across it was
it's like fever dream insanity.
Fever dream, nightmarish, hell. I mean,
beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was insane. Like, I think it's one of the most unique pieces, a set piece I've ever seen with the
agree.
light getting shifted and everything. Blew my mind. But so he goes through that area. He lands into that kind of the main square of the town. There's that building on fire.
Gloriously and fully
Oh,
on
yeah.
fire.
And then that moment where he's walking towards it, and then he looks over, and there's that other soldier coming out of the fog, and there's that same kind of confusion, that same kind of hesitancy, where you're like, wait a minute, okay, who are you? What do I do? Do I walk towards you? Do I run? What happens? And for some reason, me watching that, I logically should have been able to connect. That's 99.9% a German soldier. You shouldn't walk towards him. But I feel like there's that smidge of hope that you want it to be someone else that he can be with, because he's so lonely. He's so by himself in the middle of enemy territory that you're like, you want it. And then when you realize it's not, you're just like, no, it just pulls at your heart again.
And I wonder too, the cinematography of that like, because Schofield didn't react initially, it puts us on our back foot watching it. I feel like it was done on purpose to give the effect of exactly what you described. And it was like so masterfully done that you don't see that they did that, but you know they had to have.
I wrote down a note at that part of the film because, like I said, never been in war, and I bet you a huge majority of like any sort of PTSD or just horrible memories that you could have by going to war has to do with being hunted by another human being. When he chases him, dude, like, where does your mind go when you're in that moment? Because when I'm watching it, I'm like, I'm dead. Like, this human's gonna be as smart or smarter than me. Like, what am I? Like, you're forced to kill him, and he actually does escape. That's terrifying.
But he only escapes because the German stumbles.
It's crazy. Well, I think we've gone on long enough through the show. We have to say his name, but Roger Deakins, the cinematographer for this movie, we got to say his name.
Yeah.
Incredible. But I just wanted to just list off some of his other works. He's won 2 Oscars. One was for this movie. I'll go through the other winners and nominations. The second one he won was for Blade Runner 2049. I was reading something and they were just saying like, hey, if any movie that came out in the past 20 years, if it looks incredible to you, Roger Deakins was probably involved with it. That's cool. But like, so here's some other ones. But A Beautiful Mind, The Village, Jarhead, No Country for Old Men, Skyfall, True Grit, Sicario, Hail Caesar, and Prisoners. Those are just some of them. But
Holy hell!
Holy! Yeah, I was literally about to say "Holy hell!"
Wow!
Yeah, insane.
Oh my gosh, go Roger Deakins! Wow, that's crazy.
Elite. And I don't know why. Like, the Oscars don't really matter to me, but I like when I get blown away by a movie and it's also recognized by the Oscars.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't.
I get that.
Contingent. It's not contingent, but like I like when things line up like that.
Well, it's just like, I agree. It's just like they're recognized by it, and it's like, oh, I'm blown away by this. Oh, and there's evidence to the fact that I am blown away. So honestly, so I watched this movie, and when I finished up, I was like, that was mind blowing. I think this is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And I was like, okay, let me do a little research. And I kind of got this boost of like, okay, like validation. I felt very validated because I was typing in a bunch of stuff like YouTube videos and Reddit and things like that. And just to see like, oh, I just found like 20 video analysis of this film. Okay, this is a really good movie.
Yeah. Well, we're going to run through this. So, nominated for Best Picture, nominated for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Production Design, obviously, Original Score. I'm surprised I didn't win. I haven't looked at what did win, but the score in this movie is so fascinating because on this rewatch, when it drops, like when the beat drops, basically, like it always happens when a decision is made in their mind rather than like off of like a cue or like something exploding. And I thought that was really cool because this is a very psychological, immersive film. And the score is a huge, it just helps with that immensely. Really effective. It won for Best Sound Mixing, Best Visual Effects, and then was also nominated for Sound Editing and Best Makeup and Hairstyling. So top to bottom, this movie was just masterclassed. Just so cool.
Making this film appear to be a one-shot film I was watching a couple behind the scene things, and they're just like, you have to think so much more about everything.
Yeah.
Because one very unique thing about this is they in a sense had to rehearse the whole film before the sets were created. Like if you think about the very opening scene when Schofield and Blake, they decide to go on this mission. They're walking from on top, up on top in the camp. They descend down into the trenches. They go even further into the trenches when they go in to meet with the general. They had to build the set so it timed out correctly with their conversation. How crazy is that? And then they had to plan the camera movements ahead of time, and they had to create the set to allow the camera to move around the way they wanted to do it. So like there's lots of scenes in that opening shot where the camera is either in front of Schofield and Blake watching them speak, and then it ends up being behind them to watch them walk ahead, forward. And so they had to create these little divots in the trenches so that the camera could actually step out of the way and then it can go behind them. Like just the way they have to think about everything in that way, because there's a lot of scenes in the film. Like let's take Blake's death, for example. One of the big moments in there is he's reaching into his pocket. He's bleeding out. He's going to die. He's reaching into his pocket and he pulls out a photo and he looks at the photo. Now, the natural thing you want to do is you want to put a cut there, put a camera over his shoulders so you can see what the photo is, but they can't do that. So they have to find a way for us to see the photo in a memorable and, in a dramatic way without cutting right there. So you don't get to see the photo right away. Then he dies. Then the camera has to walk around it, and then it shoots over the shoulder for Schofield to look at it.
They also show how important the photo is because it's got a bunch of blood on it and stuff like that. Like it's still dramatic.
But, and then him holding it to his chest when he looks at it, you're just like, oh, okay. Like you like know it's a picture of his family, but they still want to show it to you. And they did it in such a good way without putting the cut in there.
The first time that I was like, wow, that was fantastic camera work was when they go into the first bunker and they get their orders from the general. And so it goes into the bunker and it's all dark and everything's really like North Manny, like lit by candlelight, kind of grainy look. And I was like, how are they going to show the details on the map? Because every single, I just watched Saving Private Ryan pretty recently, so I keep coming back to this one. There are a number of times where they show maps and they just do a quick cut down to their hands pointing at the table, and it's the establishing shot of this is the details, right? And then they go back to their faces to have the conversation. But in this scene, they couldn't do that. So you see, but they still need to establish that the general's talking, that there's people in the room, that Blake and Schofield are present and watching. The two main characters are facing away, their shadows, all you see is like the sides of their silhouettes. And then between them, you see the map. And Colin Firth is standing there pointing at the map. And it's like they just had to decide the details of what's on the map are not as important as the concept of what they're doing. And so if they can convey what they were doing, let me show you distance on the map by pointing here and then pointing here and then saying that's 9 miles. Okay. Like you don't need to see the details on the map. And then they did it a second time by going to a different map, by having them like come around to this table. And so then Schofield and Blake come to the opposite side of the table. So now they're framed in light and facing the camera, and they're all looking at the map together. And he points it and to show like, oh, they've moved back to here. That scene just framing what was on the map and communicating that and getting the intentions of the entire mission underway. They shortcutted everything that didn't matter and focused entirely on what did matter. And I am so impressed that they were able to figure that out.
There's a handful of moments actually where the camera really is telling you what to look at. My main example is when Blake is killed. The other soldiers come in, they move his body, and then Mark Strong's character, the general, he walks up to talk to Schofield, and the camera does not leave Blake's body. Like Mark Strong's the general, he's like cut in half. You don't see the top half of him, and to see him speak, you only get to hear it. And I feel like the camera's just purposely like, we're focusing here. This guy's coming, but this is what we need to focus on, what's going on, because right now Schofield is going through a completely change of his soul, of his heart, of his mind. Everything that's motivating right now is changing, and we need to stick with it. The other cool thing about this is just the production of trying to make it feel like a one-shot film. Now, there's a lot of the classic moments of like a swipe across frame, like when someone's carrying a box and it goes across the frame. That's when they can cut it, and then they can start a new scene. It's not so the actors don't have to do 30-minute takes. There's a handful of them where it's not a swipe across, and the two I'm thinking of, there's one pretty obvious one. I don't think they cleaned it up as well. But when Schofield jumps from the bridge into the river, you can pretty well tell that it's like, okay, that's a CGI thing that they put together. The one I didn't catch that I had to watch a video about it to understand it was they're going into no man's land. They go through the barbed wire, which I love how grungy and disgusting and terrible that place is. He cuts his hand, and then he jumps into the foxhole, like we were talking about beforehand. That moment when he jumps in the air, that's all CGI him. And then when he lands, it's him. And that, I was like, what? Like, how did you do that? Like, I didn't catch it at all. I'm not a pro, but that blew my mind. That when he jumps, he jumps, hits his peak, and then from when he lands, that's all CGI.
The first time I watched this, I thought it was all 2 takes. Like, it completely tricked me. Like, yeah. I didn't think twice about it. I was like, wow, that whole movie was 2 takes. Like, after he gets shot at. How do you plan that? yeah. Pretty cool. One other thing that I thought was amazing, but off what you guys are talking about with the cinematography, but when Schofield's going down that downed bridge, the camera, like, looks down the line of the bridge to show you how narrow it is. Yeah. And then when that bullet gets fired, I don't know, I was just like, oh my God, like, that's so scary. How do you keep your balance?
No, honestly, like, the whole time, especially going across no man's land, I was waiting for a shot. I was waiting for a bullet to get shot the whole time. And I think, like, we get the first gunshot, I believe, like the big, at least in terms of their journey, when Schofield kills the guy who killed Blake. But in terms of just the traveling, the first shot and the moment of like, you're in enemy territory now, was at the bridge, if I'm recalling correctly, which is just...
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the midpoint. Yeah. Midpoint of the movie.
Oh, man.
I was really curious to see how they were going to follow a Save the Cat or Hero's Journey kind of arc through this. I kind of want to take another 2 or 3 watches of this to really see how well it fits or doesn't. My feeling is that they followed Save the Cat really well in an intelligent way without like hitting the beats for hitting the beats' sake. It was they hit the beats because it made the story better. So there's not a ton of hard transitions because there's not an opportunity for hard transitions, but the midpoint is a really good one because it goes from basically outside of enemy territory into inside enemy territory, right? So when he goes into Abusco or whatever the name of the town is there, that's basically transition of out of enemy territory into enemy territory. That whole first half of the movie, that fun and games section, is like the premise of the movie. And I think that is really solid, right? If you tell somebody it's like, they're like, what's the premise of this movie? The elevator pitch is something along the lines of, there's these 2 guys that are given an order to go behind enemy lines across no man's land to deliver a message to a general to stop a massacre, right? Some form of that. And that's exactly what everything up to this barn and death scene is about. And then after that, it's not really clear it doesn't follow that anymore because now you're not entirely sure, like, is he going to make it? Like, is this massacre going to happen? Like, there's not as clear of a goal other than just like stay alive, keep moving forward. And it's like the fact that he's like smashed his head, he's lost his blood, he's like kind of stumbling around, he's so tired, he jumps into the river, all of these things that's like, this should not happen to a human in one day. Yeah. All these things cannot happen and a human can keep going. But the point is, yes, they can. And like, just keep pushing him to the limits. And that's very, very classic bad guys close in section of a movie, and to just keep pushing you over and over and over and over. And also the Dark Night of the Soul, when like, or the All Is Lost and Dark Night of the Soul section, I think also fit really well because typically like Blake dying would be that scene. And that's what it was in Saving Private Ryan. That's when the guy was stabbed, was the all is lost section. You're like, they're gonna die behind enemy lines and not find Ryan. But in this movie, that's the midpoint. So what is the equivalent of that in this? What is the all is lost, like bottom of the barrel horrible scene? It's when he gets to the he gets to the new trenches at the end and it's happening. Like he didn't stop it. He didn't stop it. And so he's like, "Oh my gosh," like, and it was right after that beautiful song and it like wraps up the bad guys close in section and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I found you, but this is the most horrible way to have found you possible." And he spends the next insanity moments, like that's the finale and climax, already into act 3 is him just trying to stop the thing that's already started. And so all of him running through the trenches and just like getting bowled over by people that are running out of the trenches and stuff like that. That's all the finale and climax in a really unique way that I've never seen and done in a movie before.
That's really cool.
Just my feelings during the ending scene when he finally gets there and he's trying to stop this, invasion going on. So he gets to the general, and he's like telling him, "You have to read this. You have to." Very, very, really, really powerful scene. When he finally opens the letter and calls it off, for some reason, I just had this feeling of like, that's it.
Yeah.
That you just completed your mission, and that's it. Like, I wouldn't say it was unsatisfying, but it was just like, oh, that's it. It's done.
And him wandering through the camp afterwards without a point.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't know. And then he remembers, like, I need to find Blake's brother. And then when he goes up and meets Richard Madden, who's also in Game of Thrones, by the way.
Yeah.
When he meets him and tells him, and then I think the moment when he turns around and says, "I want to write your mother," and tell about him dying, that I was like, oh man, like that really hit me. And that was sort of the satisfying completion of his mission. It was like, there we go. Now it was worth it. That at least that's how I felt during it. Saving all the soldiers that didn't go over. That's great. But in terms of the movie, when he talked to his brother, that was my satisfying of, okay, this all was worth it.
I just made this connection that he did save Blake's brother. Like they did go over. He was part of the first wave, but then they called it off and he didn't die.
Yep.
Yeah. So he did manage to keep that promise.
Yeah. I would suspect that that's kind of one of the underlying themes of kind of what you're talking about. Because, like he reaches his goal, but it's kind of unsatisfying. But that's just the reality of war. The only reason he made it was because he had to kill some people and life goes on. And there's a point I just think about, like when he meets the lady taking care of the baby that she found, he hands the milk off and then the music drops and he's just like, okay, time to go save 1,600 other people.
Yeah.
I've done everything that I can here. It's time to move on. It's such a powerful movie because it's so real and like, dude, the brutality of war. If a filmmaker can like make you feel that, that's amazing. That's like magic. That's like what I'm chasing every time I watch a movie. If it makes me feel like that, it's so cool.
I don't know how Mendes was able to do this without making me mad.
Yeah.
Because like Saving Private Ryan, coming back to that example again, you're just mad that this happened. Like you're mad that D-Day is the thing. You're mad that the Germans were fighting this way. You're mad that we were in this situation. It was unfair. You're mad that Ryan doesn't want to come home despite them coming to get him. All this stuff. You're just mad through the whole movie, and you have this like righteous justice that you feel when you watch most accurately depicted war movies. But this movie, I don't know what I felt. I felt like sad most of the time, not like activist sad. It was just like, yep, this happened.
So here, I think this is what it is. Okay. So he shows up to General Mackenzie, gives him the note. General Mackenzie calls off the thing. And point one, General Mackenzie then walks up to him and goes, "There'll be another order tomorrow. Attack at dawn. Wait until this moment, blah, blah, blah." And it kind of puts in perspective the thought of like, oh, like, yeah, you just stopped today. You didn't stop tomorrow. You didn't stop the next 3 years. Like you did, it in the grand scheme of things, it is a extremely small moment in this whole war. But to us as the viewer, we saw Schofield's journey throughout this whole thing. We spent 2 hours watching this journey, and it's a big thing to us. But if you think about it from like General Mackenzie's point of view, he's literally going through his day, and this guy just shows up with orders. He grabs the letter, reads it, and he's like, all right, the battle's off. Now, fuck off and go away. And it's just like, you don't realize what this guy just went through. Like, we know what he went through. You don't. And I think that's why this film makes you sad and just puts everything in so much perspective. And really, like, just like you were saying, Ren, every single person in this film that you see wandering in the background has a story. And we got to witness one guy's story, and it had an emotional impact on us. And it almost, like, when Mackenzie goes up to him and tells him tomorrow there's a different order, it almost pulls the rug out from under you. And it's just like, that's why when he delivers the message, it's, quote, unsatisfying.
Have you guys ever watched Band of Brothers or any kind of like documentary type stuff?
Yeah, I've seen Band of Brothers, not in a long time though. I need to watch it again.
So I think that's the thing is, when you ever get the opportunity to talk to a veteran of a major horrible war like this, like the World War II vets are starting to they're not around much longer if they're here at all, right? And the number of people that you can talk to that were at Iwo Jima or in Pearl Harbor or something, like, those opportunities are disappearing really quick. But I've had the opportunity a few times, and they feel exactly like this. You're like, I'm sitting in this old person's house as a missionary or whatever, just talking to an old person, right? And then I see there's a couple of pictures of like military kinds of things or medals on the wall. And I say, tell me about your service, or something like that. And then you just start getting these stories, and they're so plainly told. There's no drama in how they tell it, because there's no drama. They were just there, and they're sad, they're hard, but it was like 50 years ago, stuff like that, and 70 years ago, however old they are, and I feel like that's what this movie felt like. It was like pre-seeing old man Schofield sitting in his like 70s house with a bunch of clutter around. His wife's died. He's got like a meatloaf on the table. And like, I'm just watching the events of that story that guy's going to tell me.
I think one of the things that really makes this movie effective for me is, like, especially when you watch it a couple times, the movie starts out, they're going against the traffic in the trenches. Then some guy tries to pick a fight with him. Then they meet like the jaded general, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he like throws his like alcohol on him and says like a BS prayer. And then
I love that. Like, I love that guy.
Yeah, and then he cuts his hand.
It's like one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, he cuts his hand. They get blown up. Just adversity after and then like after Blake gets killed, they get picked up, and then in the truck, one of the guys is like, "You're never gonna make it." And there's always just some naysayer. And throughout the whole movie, it kind of reminds me of like The Revenant. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like, it's almost hilarious how much pushback he gets throughout the whole film. Eventually, he gets through it all and he survives. And really, I just thought of this. Maybe this doesn't make sense, or maybe it does, but like, if you had to summarize 1917, it shows all the things that went into Schofield finally deciding that he is ready to go home. Because in the beginning of the movie, we already talked about it. He's just like, it's better to not even go home. And then at the very end, he's just like, I need to go home. Like, after all that, because I think he realizes the reality of war, and he's just a cog in the system, and it's going to go on with or without him. He might as well go be with his family.
Yeah, man. The scene that's going on right now is another big one. This is the scene where he gets on the truck with the other, battalion or whatever, and he's trying to get, to his destination, and the truck breaks down, and literally it's crazy how young all those kids in that truck are, but they're all just like, oh, another shit day, truck broke down. What are we gonna do? And he gets out, and he's this guy they picked up, and he's just like, all right, push forward. Okay, reverse back. Everyone out of the truck. And this is his moment of like really cementing the fact is like, I have a mission. I need to do it. This is us with like, when Blake dies, we can emotionally see his brain clicking together and realizing what he needs to do. And him getting out of the truck and pushing the truck and making them push the truck is the physical act of him making the decision that he needs to complete this mission. It's so powerful and really, really cool.
Just you talking about that made me think of this, but like, so he just loses Blake. Up until this point of the movie, he doesn't really try to do anything. He's kind of along for the ride. And I feel like this is a transformation scene because he's the only one trying to push that damn truck out of the mud. And he's trying so hard and giving it 110% that he actually inspires all of the other soldiers to actually help him. And it kind of zooms in on his face. And there's got to be something that just clicked inside of his heart and in his mind in that moment. Because that's, I don't know. I love the development of Schofield in this movie. It's so cool.
It's actually really emphasizing the fact there's that one kind of just dickhead in the truck.
Yeah.
When they get out of the truck to push and he's like, you need to help me. The guy literally walks up and he leans on the truck. He's not pushing. He's just leaning against it. And then on the second attempt, when he's like, we have to do this, then they're like, oh, this guy has heart. This guy has a mission. We need to help him. You know, this movie's so good. Like, it's so good.
So there's an element to the hero's journey that I think is really true to life, and I think is probably one of the most important aspects of a hero's journey is at the very end, after they've gone through their journey, they've gone to the underbelly and they come back up and they go back home, right? They've done their journey, they come back home, they're different, they've changed. And I think that they captured that really well. There's really two main movies that I thought captured the hero has changed feeling. Is like the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy when the hobbits go back home to the Shire, and the hobbits haven't changed at all. They're the exact same peace-loving, food-eating, peaceful, homebodies. They're smoking their weed and all that. And then you see the Fellowship hobbits sitting there in the tavern, and they're just like, we don't fit in. And even like Merry and Pippin, who were like the rowdy partiers and stuff like that, they're the ones that were dancing on the table in Brie and stuff like that. They're like quiet, and it makes them when Frodo leaves and he goes off to the west, he goes across the sea to the west with the elves. You're like, that's where you belong. You don't belong in the Shire anymore. And all the other people that stayed, like, they have a different, like, hard journey of learning to fit back in. And this movie, similarly, I think pre-captures that when he sits there at the tree and he looks back at his family. He's absolutely changed. He's grown, but he's not, that when he goes back home, he's not gonna fit in. Like, he's gonna be messed up, or he's gonna be quiet. He's gonna be the silent generation. He's gonna be, I don't know. It's beautiful and it's sad about the element of the hero's journey is everyone wants to be a hero. Everyone wants to grow and change. But to do that means you actually have to grow and change. And when you grow and change, you don't quite fit in back where you started. And you can't pretend that you'll be able to change and fit in your current life either.
Super awesome.
So Schofield has that moment when he's pushing the truck, and that's when we physically see him changing and being like, I need to complete my mission. I'm going to admit, one scene in this movie that made me kind of go, was when he met the mom and the kid. When I first watched it, I was kind of like, this feels kind of like a low, like a moment of like, dun, 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 doom. That's kind of how it felt. Talking to you guys about this and thinking about that scene again, I think what the purpose of that scene is, when Schofield pushes that truck, he accepts the fact that I need to change, I need to complete the mission. When he meets the girl and the baby and he hands over his food, hands over the milk, I think that's his moment when he realizes, oh, I need to go home. I have to finish the mission and I have to go home. Those are my two moments. And I think it's solidified when he meets with Blake's brother as well.
I think you're onto something, because I didn't notice till this viewing, but the woman asks him if he has kids, and he kind of like changes the subject.
Yeah.
he like doesn't answer. And I'll admit, the first time I watched this movie, at the very end, I thought those were pictures of Blake's kids or Blake's family. I didn't even get that it was Schofield's till the second time I watched this. But yeah, that's a great point.
I agree with Harrison's thesis, and I think it's masterful.
I just had two little things like behind the scenes I wanted to share because I thought they were really cool. But the scene where Schofield meets Blake's brother, that was on the first take. They put that in the movie, just one take, boom. I thought that was pretty amazing. And then most people know this, but when Schofield runs behind the enemy lines on the field and he gets hit by those other soldiers, that wasn't in the script, it was an accident. They just ran with it because they had real things blown up. And I freaking love that.
It was such a slimy scene for
Dude,
me. It
it's
was
so
like, oh my
awesome.
gosh.
So
yeah,
good.
I was listening to a little interview by the actor who played Blake, and he told me, he was like, because this film is supposed to be in a one shot and we had some long takes and everything, kind of the rule was you acted until they said cut. You don't make assumptions. You don't think, oh, I messed up, I need to stop. It's like, no, you just keep going and going. And he told me, he was like, often, he yells cut and I was still in it the whole time.
Yeah.
Like it was hard, like the transition of acting in that scene and going back to who I am and getting back to realizing I'm on a movie set and I need to make adjustments or, eat or something like that. It was difficult for me. Man, the two main actors in this film, it's Dean Charles Chapman who plays Blake and it's George McKay who plays Schofield. I really hope in 10, 15 years, if they make it big, and if someone interviews them and says, hey, what's one of your films you really love? I really hope they say 1917. I hope they're like, that was one of the most incredible moments in my acting career. I hope they say that because, wow. So just a couple little scattered random notes I have before we close out here. I actually really liked the set of the trenches is really cool. The fact that they had Church Avenue, like they had to name the trenches so that you could know where to go. I thought that was really interesting. There was a sign there that said something like "Keep your head down during daylight." I think that really just kind of was like a little like, oh, like this is kind of a big deal. I also like the historical accuracy section of this. I like that the British, the good guys in a sense, that their trenches are pieces of crap. Like it's muddy. People literally they dug little caves that they'll crawl under and sleep in there. It's just crazy. But then when you go over to the German side, it's very clean. It's very established. They have sleeping there. There's electricity going there. And that's really what happened, because in World War I, the Germans basically were like, this war is going to go for a long time. We need to set these up and be established. And like they even mentioned in the film, the Allies and all of them, they basically were like, oh, we'll be home by Christmas. It's going to be great. And it's like, no, I can't remember how long World went, but it was a lot longer than they were planning on it.
In adjunct to the sets and stuff, I think one of the things that kind of blew my mind was how close everything was to itself. It was like the general was like, go find this guy and tell them this thing, and it was like a 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
But that's a big deal to go from there to there.
I also think this could be a theme, by the way. This is also goes under the category of if only we had a cell phone. that could be we could do a whole movie about those. Our whole movie theme about that. The quote that really made me go, what was that? Was they go through no man's land, he cuts his hand, Schofield's patching it up, and Blake says, oh, that doesn't look that bad. You'll be wanking off pretty soon. And then Schofield goes, it's the wrong hand or something. I was like, what was that?
No time will be lost. Yeah,
it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I thought that was pretty funny. Let's see. Oh, really, really big impactful moment for me. Same scene. They're in the German bunkers when they're searching around to see what's going on. And then they knock over that trash can full of burning coals. And then, it shows it's still lit on fire. I was like, oh shit. That means they just left. They have
such a good shortcut.
Yeah.
That was such a good shortcut. Communicated so much so quick.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, very clever. Oh, then that poor Schofield gets to the end and he's going up yelling at him like, where is General McKenzie? And he goes up to that one guy and he's just like, what the fuck is going on? And then when Schofield goes around the corner, he gets his ass blown up right then.
The guy who's shell shocked at the very end.
He's like shell shocked and like freaking out, and then Schofield leaves, and then a bomb hits it right on top of him.
Brutal. We didn't talk about Schofield when he gets buried in that explosion from the rat. Dude, when he coughs out that dust. Yeah, dude, I'm claustrophobic, and I felt so like, I was like, get out of there, man. Like, this is, and I thought he was going to die, especially like I assumed he was dead with having all those rocks cover him like that. The irony of Schofield selling his medal for some wine, and then he gets his life saved. And then he's like, I'm going to recommend you for a medal of your own, Blake. And then he dies before he gets it. Just incredible script writing. I just a little detail in there just makes it that much more painful when Blake gets murdered. Okay, well, let's jump into our final thoughts and our slimiest scenes. For me, immediately, I'll just take it off the board, but the cut hand into the chest cavity it's like basically the first thing I think of. Like, yeah. That's so disgusting, so real. But yeah, just the whole journey. I freaking love this movie. And this is one of those, this is a 5-star for me, hands down. And my main reasoning behind that is because I've watched it 4 times and it gets better each time. The music is incredible. It tells you what to think, when to think it, how to feel. When it's just like humming, dude, I feel like I'm floating. Like it is cinematic to perfection. Yeah. It's special, and I love this movie. It's heavy. It's disgusting. It's real, and it's got everything I like in a movie, I think.
I'm gonna put a plug in here. There's a YouTube channel called Listening In, I believe is what it's called. If you just type in 1917 score, it'll be one of the top ones you see. And this guy goes through so much of the film and what the score is telling you to feel, just like you said. And it's one of those channels where the guy's talking and you're like, this guy knows. Like, this guy knows what he's saying. It's not just some rambling, people on a podcast, random white guys on a podcast kind of a thing.
I hate those kinds of podcasts.
Yeah, right.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please. I'm going to say, 5 out of 5, and not just a 5 out of 5, but I think that this is up there with Europa Report as one of the best movies we've watched for this whole podcast. To me, just I don't think, man, it's so good. It's gonna be really hard to top this movie, and I'm actually, not only am I excited to watch it, and I'm going to watch it, I'm actually itching to watch it again.
Yeah.
So, for me, slimiest scene that stuck to my brain is this whole movie is really a slimy scene. If I got to pick one right now, I think I'm going to go with the scene after he gets out of the river and we hear that soldier singing that folk song, and just the camera movement of that, like the way it like interweaves between all of them. And you just have this feeling of like, this is the only peaceful moment that these guys are going to have for a while. Like, it's incredible. And then when it reverts back, and it shows Schofield just leaning up against that tree, and you're like, that poor guy, he is so freaking tired right now. And I don't know, for some reason, I like when they turn around, they're like, whoa, you okay, bro? like, you realize the situation we're all in. We're all in a crappy situation, but whoa.
You like that song?
I thought it was great. I think that's my slimy scene for this one.
Yeah, this is also hands down a 5 for me. I finished watching it and I immediately wrote down a 5 on Plex, and I was like, wow, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And this is one of the first movies that I'm like, Paige, you have to watch this movie. I think you will love it.
Yeah.
Like this is an incredible film on so many levels. I've talked about my 2 main slimy scenes, but there's a third, which is when he walks out inside the town and the whole church or whatever, it's just like the town square is on fire and there's the silhouette of the fountain in front of him, and he's just like entranced, hypnotized by it. That's burned into my brain. Like, that was so cool. But there's just a lot of scenes. This movie is slimy.
Sometimes, like, when I'm like, everyone needs to see this, I've had those feelings, and then someone sees it and they didn't care for it. So I'm glad you guys liked it.
No, honestly.
Well, okay, I did. My dad was asking me, "Hey, what's a good movie? We're trying to pick a movie." I was like, "Dude, Stanley Kubrick. You got to watch Barry Lyndon." And then my dad and Joe watched it, and I think they had like one or two things to say about it. And I was like, I don't think they liked it.
I'm not gonna give you any more movie recommendations.
Yeah, I was like, okay. So yeah,
No, honestly, like we got on like literally at the very beginning of this, and you gushed about it, then I gushed about it, and I literally was like, Scott, please gush about it. Please gush about it. Okay, we're good.
So you felt like I did at the beginning of Paris, Texas.
Yes.
My crusty soul has been softened.
Just go watch it, guys. I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie, like going from this movie to Armageddon is gonna be like, all right, let's watch Armageddon.
And then following that with Power
Hey,
Rangers.
whoa.
I feel dumb.
Hold on there, Scott.
Hey, you're taking this one step too far. Wait, I have a question. So, what are like some of your guys' favorite war movies? Because this is a niche film category. I have a few, but I mean, we've mentioned Saving Private Ryan. Have you guys seen All Quiet on the Western Front?
I have not.
Yeah.
The
original.
I haven't seen the original. I've heard it's amazing, but I saw the 2022 version. That's incredibly powerful.
Does Tropic Thunder count?
Man.
Tropic does count. Yeah.
Man, I think we need to have a category that's war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd probably be good.
That'd probably be good.
Month.
Man, I feel like
It would be a heavy month.
Man, I'm looking through them. I really haven't seen a lot. Like Black Hawk Down is one I've seen, and I remember really liking that.
I haven't seen that.
The Patriot with Mel Gibson. I remember seeing that and liking it.
Freak, The Patriot.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's intense. Braveheart, obviously.
Ooh. Okay. Just
Dang.
here. Just a quick one here.
Does The Northman count?
Yes.
I'm gonna put one out here. This is a recommendation to anyone listening. There's a movie called Courage Under Fire. It's got Denzel Washington in it, and it's a really cool, interesting film because it's one of those movies where the same story is told from a lot of different perspectives, and you're piecing the movie together as you get new perspectives of it. It's really, really cool. Like, big recommend for that one.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Full Metal Jacket because I mentioned Barry Lyndon. Those are both Kubrick movies.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, but this, I mean, 1917. Like, this is top of the. I'm not saying it's number one. It's on the top of lists for war films for me, for sure.
It's certainly in the top 5.
Yeah.
But that's from like I haven't worked to put together the top 5.
Totally.
But this would be in the top 5.
Yeah. The one like war movie that I consistently heard and I need to watch it is Fury. That's the one that I haven't watched.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like I need to watch that one. I've heard so many good things.
Inglourious
Is that
Bastards.
the tank one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one with Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf,
Yeah.
a
John
couple other big
Bernthal.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
I remember when that came out. I didn't watch it then either. Let's see. What's the
Inglourious
what's the
Bastards.
Christopher Nolan one?
Uh,
Oh yeah, Dunkirk.
Yeah.
That one's pretty solid
Oh,
too.
yeah.
That one messes with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of good war movies.
I heard one complaint about 1917. I want to know what you think of this, but someone said it felt like I was in a video game. I was like, is that a
Yes. Oh, that's something I didn't. That's something I didn't mention. It felt like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
It felt like a journey walking behind somebody, third person camera, like set piece to set piece.
Yeah.
And it didn't mess with me, but I thought it awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the moment that I had that feeling was actually when they were walking towards the farmhouse. That was the moment of like, whoa, this kind of feels like a video game. And I think mostly, it's the third person camera and the fact that it's one shot. It's a one shot. Like, lots of video games they can, or just animated movies, they can do longer takes without cutting because you're animating it, you can control what the camera is doing throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I got vibes of Dead Space, Assassin's Creed,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 movies that crossed my mind at different set pieces. And that's not a complaint because they did it so right.
Totally.
But I agree with Harrison. It's just long, consistent shot over the shoulder. You get what you get. There's no hiding behind a cut.
Yeah. Like you said, we got next week's film is Armageddon. So stay tuned. I'm really excited to see it. I haven't seen it in years. And
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. It's not going to be good as 1917, But it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. This 1917 isn't fun, so it's
No.
totally different experience.
Yeah, well, 1917 isn't fun, but man, it's
incredible.
it's a very good meal. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You eat it, you feel full, you feel satisfied, and you are so excited for the leftovers the next day. That's what it is.
So I know that this movie's coming, or this podcast coming out after Thanksgiving, but hey, we're recording this just a few days before Thanksgiving. I gotta say, guys, there's a holiday season movie you've never watched that you should. It's actually way better than you think it is. It's called The Feast of Seven Fishes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's really good. I got it on Plex if you don't want to go look for it.
Okay.
So it's really good.
I never heard of it.
It's like a little like slice of life family, like Italian family holiday get together kind of thing. Think like My Big Fat Greek Wedding without as being big and boisterous as that. Like think of like really small family rather than big family.
Mhm.
Nice.
But it's got that Italian like influence and all, and it's got this really cute romance in it and everything. Like genuinely goes into my Christmas list of movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, Feast of Seven Fishes.
I don't know. That
Underrated.
means Ren would have to not watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, well, that's
Oh, don't watch it on Christmas. Watch it before Christmas.
That's what it is.
actually we were trying to pick a movie last night, and Allie was like, "Let's watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles." I'm like, "It's not 2 days before Thanksgiving. We can't do that."
What is this?
Because that's when the movie starts in that movie. So that's
funny.
our tradition.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, you're the man. Both of you. Have an awesome day. I'll see you guys soon.
Peace and love.
Adios. Bye.
That's a wrap on another episode of Cinema Slime. We hope you enjoyed it. This episode was a production by your hosts, Harrison Jensen, Ren Jensen, and Scott Shepard. Harrison handles the mixing, editing, and production, and Ren, that's me, takes care of the art and design. Want to join the conversation? Let's connect. Find us on Discord for film discussions, movie recommendations, and everything cinema. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and you can also connect with us on social media and show your support on Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll give you a shout out if you'd like. All links can be found in the episode notes.